Hey guys, let's have a look at how to describe 3 bar charts, which is a possibility on test day. So you may open up your test booklet and see this. Don't freak out. The first thing we need to do is analyze it. And if you do spend some time looking at it, you will be able to understand what it is you're looking at, which will in turn allow you to describe it accurately. Let's read the description. It says the bar charts below show global oil demand by region. All right. It's not going to be that complex. So global oil demand by region. Let's have a look at 2015 first. You can see there's 2016, 2017. Okay, great. So we're just looking at 3 time periods. That's fine. So 2015. Let's have a look at the x-axis here. So we got OECD Americas, OECD Asia, Ocean, and it's the same. Okay, so we're comparing the same countries, which makes our lives easier. The y-axis is millions of gallons of oil. This is the demand of millions of gallons of oil. So let's have a look. What's the first thing you notice about 2015? Well, the first thing I notice is that OECD Americas has the highest demand for oil at about 25 million gallons. Let's look at 2016. China, look at that, that's very interesting. About, what's that, 110 million gallons of oil it is demanding, or it needs, rather. Fine, and what about 2017? Well, other Europe actually, if I notice here, I can see other Europe's low significantly the whole time. But again, OECD Americas has shot up to first place again. Okay. What else can I see? Well, I can see that 2015, 2017, in fact, are almost identical. Compare these two graphs here. Almost identical. This year, by contrast, is significantly different, isn't it? This is significantly different. All right, great. I've had a good look at that now, and I feel confident enough to begin writing. So let's just plan this out. So I want to have a basic structure, which is you write your summary sentence, talk about the main trends. Here we do have a time element, so we can talk about trends, increases, decreases, stabilizations, fluctuations, etc. But there's also key features there, which I might include in my overview paragraph. But then in the third paragraph, I wanted to get into some comparisons. So I need to, well, let's go through this. How do I write the summary? Summary is fine. I just rewrite that in my own words. Main trends, key features. Well, I'm going to say that these two are almost identical, and that in 2016, China had a massive demand for oil. Okay, that might be my overview. And then in comparison, I'm going to compare some of the countries here. I'm just going to choose some countries, and I'm going to compare them. Okay? So my response is 165 words. It looks like this on the paper. Okay, let's just look at this. You'll notice in my overview paragraph here that there's no statistics given. I mean, I've talked about some years, but there's no numbers given. Here, by contrast, 1 million gallons, 12 million gallons, 5 million gallons, 25 million gallons. I've used the y-axis here in this third paragraph. Let me take you through it part by part, rather. So, the original instruction said, or the original description said, the bar charts below show global oil demand by region. I wrote the supply data shows us the demand for oil in 10 different regions from 2015 to 2017. The demand is measured in millions of gallons. So I've made mine a little bit more comprehensive. And I've in fact written 2 sentences, which is fine. Now I move on to the overall description. Overall, we can see that oil consumption in most of the listed regions was stable between 2015 to 2017. The exception was China, which saw a 10-fold increase in consumption in 2016. My little error there, that's something I need to check before I move on to my essay, before dropping back to its original level. Now let's look at this third paragraph. We can see that the figures for 2015 and 2017 are almost identical. The greatest demand for oil is in the OECD Americas at just under 25 million gallons. The least demand is in the other Europe category, which used approximately 1 million gallons. The other regions included OECD Asia, other Asian countries, China, OECD Europe, the FSU, Latin America, the Middle East, and Africa. All these regions consume between 5 and 12 million gallons each. Okay, so because we've got a lot of different regions here, instead of looking at individual ones, what I've done is I've collapsed a number of them and just said a number of these, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them used between 5 and 12 million gallons. A clever way to include everything into 1 or 2 sentences. The figures given above also stand true in 2016, with the exception of China. In 2016, China consumed by far the most oil at around 110 million gallons. Done. Let's have a little think about the scoring before you practice. Task achievement, I've written directly about that image. I've identified the main features and I've compared relevant data. By main features, what that means is you look at those graphs and you find the most interesting, significant, the data that stands out the most. Okay, what's interesting when you look at that? China was interesting. Other Europe was tiny, that was interesting. The other one, so that's the stuff that you want to talk about. And then of course you do the comparisons between the years. You compare the 2 countries or between the 3, compare the 1 country between the 3 years, for example. Structure, you should just use that structure. There is of course a different way to structure this. What I could do with this is I could have written 3 paragraphs. I could have talked about 2015, 2016 and 2017 and written 3 distinct paragraphs comparing the countries. But that didn't really make sense for this one. It made more sense to put it into 1 paragraph and compare the country between the years. Okay? That made more sense because the data was quite similar across the 3 time periods. Sometimes if you get the tables and they're vastly different and you think the comparisons between the 3 graphs is going to be too much, you can do within graph comparisons and write about, you take one of the graphs and write a paragraph, take the other graph, write a separate paragraph, take the other graph, write a 3rd separate paragraph. That might be an easy way to do it because you can run into trouble by combining too much data. It just gets messy, okay? Vocab, I need to use a wide range of vocabulary. I need to use them accurately. I want to make sure I'm using synonyms where possible. Grammar, again, wide range of different sentence types, and it needs to be accurate. Cool bananas. Thanks for watching. It's your turn to go and do some practice. Submit an assessment if you want feedback.